Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching tonight's board meeting. My name is Brad Gottschall, your Lower Paxton Township Manager. And in typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief summary of tonight's meeting, specifically for the benefit of those who are watching at home this evening. After approving the previous meeting minutes and receiving various comments and reports, under new business, the board will consider adoption of Resolution 20-13, waiving penalties and interest on the collection of real estate taxes during the 2020 collection year. Next, the board will consider taking action on Resolution 20-14, approving the DEP planning module for the Allentown Boulevard warehouse development. Lastly, under new business, the board will take action on improvement guarantees. Finally, the board will take action on the payment of township and authority bills, hear any last announcements, and finally adjourn. And at this point, the board members are seated and prepared to begin business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gottschall. Call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. If everyone would please rise, and Supervisor Judd will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now move to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 10th, March 17th, and March 24th?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the workshop minutes of 3/10/2020, the business meeting minutes of March 17th, 2020, and the special meeting minutes of March the 24th, 2020, as prepared and circulated.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This is the time when normally we would have public comment. I would like to announce that the board, prior to this meeting and following this meeting, met in executive session to receive information from the township manager and other members of the township staff. We are not having in-person public comment for these meetings, at least for the next few weeks, until the stay-at-home orders have been lifted. So if any member of the public has a question or comment, information they would like to present to us, please feel free to email any of the members of this board or township manager. We'll be more than happy to get back to you via email or with a telephone call. And we, as always, are very happy to receive any input that you might have. Hopefully, we'll be able to return to a more normal pattern here within the next few weeks. Are there any comments from board members? Hearing none, we'll turn to Mr. Gottschall for the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have one item for the board this evening. On April 14th, within 2 hours of a shooting event in the 5300 block of Ridgeview Drive, the Lower Paxton Township Police tracked down and apprehended the first suspect involved in that incident, charging him with attempted homicide, as well as a number of other related serious offenses. On the 17th of April, the police department, in conjunction with the U.S. Marshals, arrested 3 other suspects in connection with the shooting as well. I want to commend the police department for the swift and diligent handling, the police work that went into that, the investigative work that went into that event, which eventually led to the arrest of those 4 individuals. This is not typically news that we would like to discuss in a public forum, but I thought it appropriate to bring it up this evening to commend the officers in the department. And to mention how quickly we handle the application of justice, or in our case, the application of policing and investigative work in Lower Paxton, and that should send a strong signal to the criminal element in the surrounding area and in Lower Paxton that it's not a great idea to do that type of activity in Lower Paxton. So that's good news.
And the reason it's of note is because that's not a typical day in Lower Paxton.
Correct.
No, not at all.
So that is the only item I had this evening.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We have no items under old business, and that takes us then to new business. And the first item we have for discussion and action is presentation on Resolution 2020-13. And the purpose of this resolution would be to extend deadlines for the payment of real estate taxes for taxable year 2020, an initiative, I believe, undertaken by the Dauphin County Commissioners. Mr. Gotch, would you like to provide us with some additional information?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. That action item, the agenda item, is a bit of a misleading item. But however, as you had mentioned, Mr. Chairman, in response to the action taken by the county commissioners and the desire of the board to take steps to mitigate the financial crisis being perpetuated by the coronavirus pandemic, Resolution 20-13 executes the township's statutory discretion to waive penalties for late tax payments, providing for the collection of real estate tax at the flat tax rate up to and including December 31st, 2020. So it is not actually extending deadlines, but rather it is waiving penalty and interest through December 31st. The action does not actually absolve the status of late when an individual makes a payment within the typical late period. It merely waives, again, that 5 or 10% late fee that is levied throughout the year at certain dates. If the taxpayer has yet to pay the 2020 real estate tax come January 2021, the 2020 tax will be applied at the 10% late fee for the 2020 tax. So again, this is not an extension of deadlines, but it is merely not merely, but it is a waiver of the late penalty fee and the interest.
And this being done at the initiative, as I mentioned, of the Dauphin County Commissioners, owing to the fact that we have some members of our community who are hopefully very temporarily unemployed and perhaps lacking in financial resources as a result of the coronavirus pandemic that we're all dealing with. I also want to let the board know I had a discussion with our county treasurer, Janice Creason, who indicated that, in fact, the preponderance of real estate taxes are paid actually early, where you receive a discount, and or at face value. So this should have limited impact on the township, although it will result in some revenue to the township coming in probably not until December. Any questions, board members?
I just have a quick one. I've been trying to figure out what our authority is on this, that the governor just signed legislation that kind of clarifies or spells out. So did we need that? I mean, it was just signed yesterday. I don't even know technically if it took effect or not, but did we need that, or was that more of a clarifying measure?
It's kind of unclear from the statute for the collection of real estate taxes whether we have that authority or not. But I think Senate Bill 841 cleared that up for at least for 2020. Now that gives us the authority to do it for sure.
Okay, because I know, I mean, the county and we were going to act anyway. I mean, we had this, on the agenda and everything. So I just was trying to clear that up for now and for going forward. But I guess it's important, especially for this year, to make things absolutely clear. And this does that.
Hopefully we will never find ourselves in this situation again. And I think what Mr. Godshall said, this does not absolve individuals of paying their property taxes. It merely allows them to take up until December 31st to do so without the additional penalty and interest, but you still have to pay at some point. So with that, any additional questions or comments? I would also point out that Janice informed me that in order for this to actually work, just because of the technical challenge for the county to be able to do this, each of the school districts and municipalities in Dauphin County, we all have to be in unanimous agreement in order for this to happen, because there's not a way to separate out individual municipalities without considerable reprogramming of the county's computers, which would be expensive and time consuming, and we'd probably be past December at any point. So this will only happen if we're all in this county in agreement.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Anything else? Okay. Seeing no additional questions or comments, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2020-13, which extends the deadlines for the payment of the real estate taxes to Lower Paxton Township for the taxable year as presented and recommended by Mr. Gutschall.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. We'll now move on to the second item under new business, and this is a presentation and action on Resolution 2020-14. And we are being asked to approve the DEP planning module for the Allentown Boulevard warehouse. And hopefully this is going to work. Yeah, very good. And there we have it, Mr. Gotschall.
Yes, members of the board, this is a fairly routine action that the board takes from time to time. Resolution 20-14 provides for a revision to the township's official sewage facilities plan with DEP, specifically allowing for the addition of the Allentown Boulevard warehouse as approved by the Board of Supervisors under a previous action. The project narrative, as supplied by Mr. Weaver in your packet, indicates a number of technical specifications of the development, which are all within appropriate DEP and township limits. If the board has any questions or anything on the action, I'd be happy to assist in answering those questions.
That's just one. Is this something that all municipalities do, or this has something to do with the fact that we have a history with the consent decree and
Eventually, all municipalities do it. Many of them do. They actually can get a waiver for it, because right now we're still under a consent decree with DEP, so we always have to do planning modules. Right. But other municipalities that aren't under something like that, they can do it by what's called a waiver.
Okay, and just for public consumption, this is indicating that we have the capacity and the ability to handle the new capacity brought about by this.
That's correct.
Brad, do you know offhand how many modules we have hanging out there right now remaining?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay. Well, normally we have X number that we can draw from.
The permits.
Yes.
The permits. Yeah. Well, it depends. It depends whether you're in Beaver Creek or Paxton Creek.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Thank you for the clarification. So yeah, but I'm sure we're okay here too.
Yeah.
And again, this is something we do all the time. Yes.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing no additional questions or comments, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2020-14, approving the DEP, Department of Environmental Resources Planning Module for the Allentown Boulevard warehouses, presented and recommended by Mr. Gutschall.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. That now takes us to subdivision and land developments, improvement guarantees. And there we have three. Everything appears to be rather routine. Any questions, board members?
No, there's just 3 extensions. I didn't see anything. And Mr. Gutschall shaking his head. There's nothing unusual.
Correct.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the 3 improvement guarantees extensions for Maiden Creek, Autumn Oaks Phase 1, and Devon Woods.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that takes us to payment of bills for Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion that we pay the bills of Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. That would appear to take us to the end of the agenda. Do we have any further announcements?
Yeah, I have two quick announcements.
Yes, sir.
One, I guess you might call it a shout out, and one goes to Hoffman Ford, and as a gesture of appreciation to all our first responders in the township, they purchased lunch for them last Friday, and they used their drive-through service department to accommodate police department, our 3 fire companies, and South Central EMS. So shout out to Hoffman Ford for stepping out. And secondly, and I think I can speak on behalf of the board, a shout out to all essential employees throughout the township. And we'd like to extend our appreciation for your dedication and your commitment for coming to work every day in support of our residents. So we appreciate it. So thank you.
And in colonial days, we would say huzzah.
Huzzah.
Very nice.
You remember that, huh?
I do. I was there. I'll tell you
Well-
about the last pandemic I spent with Mr. Washington
Oh, gee.
and the smallpox.
I'm glad you survived.
I,
Yeah, and I think that Mr. Zumas brings up a good point. I don't know how many people in our community realize that municipal government is an essential operation. And as a result of that, all of our employees and all of our departments have continued to work throughout this pandemic. Now, we've obviously taken steps like closing the municipal center, et cetera, in order to keep our employees safe, but there's still somewhat of a risk. And throughout all this, everybody has continued working, serving the people of Lower Paxton. So, Norm, thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I had a couple calls. People wanted to know why we weren't doing Zoom, why we were coming here. And I'll speak on behalf of the board. And if we expect our employees to come to work every day, we need to be here also. So that's the reason that we are all here this evening.
And as such, we are observing appropriate social
Yep.
distancing. Our regular viewers might note things look a little different than usual, but everybody's keeping their distance, and we urge everybody else to do so and stay safe. And I know the governor has set May 8th as a date to hopefully start getting things back to normal. Hopefully, the situation will progress, that we'll be able to keep to that date, and through May and into June start getting back to most of our normal activities. Maybe a little differently, but most of them. Anything else, members?
That's my only announcement. I just can't wait till we have people back in our meetings.
Yes. Well, as soon as the stay-at-home orders are lifted, we will go back to having, public available in these meetings for public comment. But in the meantime, we all live right here in the community. You know how to find us. Give us a call at home, here at the Township Building, by email. Our whole staff is always available. And hopefully we're going to return to that sometime next month, we hope. With that, speaking of, our next meeting is Tuesday, May 5th. It will be a business meeting, and it will be at 7 p.m. right here in this building. If there's nothing further, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.